Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola, back in the Stitches and Slapdashery HQ. Decided to film in my bedroom today because there's lots of natural light, so it feels nice because it's now March 1st and it feels like spring is on the way and the sun is shining, and yeah, it's coming around fast, so if it becomes an issue, I might have to adjust the curtains. However, the weather is warming up. We got double digits, plus double digits, I think, yesterday. Oh, so nice. It's been a busy week. Let's see, since last weekend. Last weekend, I think I recorded on the Friday. I had a long weekend. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just worked out with the shifts. And I recorded for you, I think Thursday or Friday. And then over the weekend, I went nuts on the crocheting. So I've got lots of crochet FOs to show you. I've got one sewing FO, a knitting whip. Whip, that sounded funny, a whip. I felt like Rowan Atkinson there when he sort of does that weird enunciation, oh, whip. And new acquisitions as well. So let's get on with it. One of the things I did do this week is I actually read a real book, a real physical paper book. It was this one, Jodi Picoult, The Book of Two Ways. Definitely recommended. Very educational as far as Egyptology is concerned, and also quantum physics, apparently. I love a good author who actually sounds like they know what they're talking about, right? It's not just some fluff novel where there's absolutely no brain involved. You feel like this character really knows her stuff. And yeah, it was a good read. There's a woman who, when she was in grad school, she was an Egyptologist. She was in Egypt. She met this guy. They hit it off. But then she had to come back to the US to just see her mother through her dying days. And then she ended up staying and meeting somebody else and then marrying him. And it's all about, all about her time in Egypt and her time in the States and her struggles with her two loves. And she is currently a death doula, someone who sees someone through their death and also supports the family with that. And that's really lovely too. So yeah, I won't say too much because I don't want to give the plot away too much, but yeah, definitely a good read. So that was good. The sewing finished object is this guy. Last time, or the time before, I showed you a small version of this. It's the basket bag from michellepatterns.com. And so I made the medium this time. And let me just take out the stuff I'm going to show you a bit later. A little croaky this morning. Feels like I'm still shaking off the dregs of that big nasty cold I had. I love these fabrics. These were ones I bought at Fabricland a long time ago when I was still working there. And what did I make? I don't think I made a quilt with them. I think I bought some to make a bag, which hung on display in the store for a while. And I had quite a few extras. I probably bought extra for myself as well because, you know, it's camper vans, it's a beach theme. Can't go wrong, can you? I found a whole bunch of the scraps in my quilt cotton bins the other day. So I've pieced two fairly large chunks together for that side of the bag. And then I pieced, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces together for that side of the bag. So these all came as part of the same range. So you know they're going to go together. So that's awesome. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces in the handle. I did do a little oopsie. Instead of cutting the handle on the fold, I accidentally cut across where the pattern piece was. And so I had to seam it. So I did lose a tiny bit of length in the handle, but it doesn't matter. It still works fine. The lining is beautiful. It's one of the fabrics I had in my stash that's an ombre. Let's turn it inside out. You know, it occurs to me these bags could be reversible. Oh, no, it's not a thread, it's a crease. Because the turning gap is up on the top edge there, and so there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't use it the other way around. So I used the lighter end of the fabric for the inside, which you can see how the ombre goes. This is the other side, like the other, near the other selvage of the fabric, the darker blue. Just love it. And I read the instructions properly this time. Yes, last time when I put the liner and the exterior together to join them together, I had a little bit of a glitch with the printing out, and I had all these weird characters happen when I printed out the first time. So I printed out again after the first bag, and then I realized that when you put the two together, you're supposed to nest the bulk of the folded bottom one way on the liner and the other way on the outer. Turns out it works way better that way. So this one sits nicely, and I'm much happier with it. That one's done. That's the medium size. I do intend at some point to make the large. Maybe this week. After all, when you pay for a pattern, you want to make the most of it, right? Let's see what next. Let's talk about the knitting next, because it's just one item and it's not a whole string of things. My legs are going dead. I'm kneeling on my bed right now. They're going a little numb. I'll have to do a stretch in a minute. Talking of stretching, I have been very remiss in my stretching goals. I have done a few sessions of yoga since the beginning of the year, but nowhere near as many as I should be. All right, so one of the things I had in the stash was this bamboo pop. A friend gave this to me far more years ago than I can remember. It's a blend of 50% cotton and 50% bamboo. It's a 100-gram ball. I have 2 of them. And there are 266 meters on there. So 3.5 ounces, 292 yards. It's a DK 3-weight. And yeah, it's a really nice yarn. It's my favorite color. Why has it taken me so long to use it? I don't know. The pattern I chose for this one is called, I think it's pronounced Ashlyn or Ashling. It's spelled A-I-S-L-I-N-G, and it's by, I should know this, shouldn't I? Michaela, oh, this is why I forgot. I can't even pronounce it. Michaela Jandacek, maybe? Yandercheck, yeah. It's on Ravelry. It's free. It's a really easy one-page pattern with a very easy section of 2-row repeats, and the second section is also 2-row repeats, and I'm about to start the second section. There's no gauge information on the Ravelry page or in the pattern, and there is also no idea of finished measurements. So looking at the projects on Ravelry, you can see there's a few people who said came out a bit small and various other things, because when you change from the garter stitch section to the lace section, you might have the wrong amount of stitches, and she's not too clear on, well, I think she sounds like she's clear on the pattern about what to do about that, but the comments on the pattern page lead me to believe there's a few confused people out there. We'll see. So this is started with a garter tab. I've done a few of those before. It's not the tidiest garter tab in the world, but it will do. And you can probably see it better if I hold it upside down, because that's the way it wants to go. It's very loosely knitted. It's a DK yarn on US 8 needles, which is a 5mm. Yep. And so there's a center spine where you're doing make ones either side of your center stitch here. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of hard. And on every alternate row, on every row, you're doing yarn overs on the row ends. So you're getting a yarn over holes all the way along that top edge there. So she says to knit to 129 stitches and then do the Irish mesh, I think she calls it, section. But I've done more like 160 because I have the 2 balls of yarn, and I thought I might as well maximize the yarn as much as possible. But I've still got all of this left on the first ball, plus my second, of course, so I'm still going to have some left over, I think. So it bunches up very satisfyingly on the needles there. And it's so quick. It feels like it's grown really, really fast, even though, of course, every time you knit a row, it gets longer. It does seem to go really fast. And the next time I pick this up to work on it, I will start the Irish mesh section. Of course, it will get a pretty hard blocking when I have finished it, and so that will stretch it out as well. So it's really hard to tell how big it's going to turn out when it's done. I'm going to leave my needle tips hanging out the bag, because last thing I want is for it to fall off the needles. I've tipped you down because my legs were going dead and they were getting really painful. If you've watched recently, you'll know I had a massive run on using up a whole bunch of acrylic yarns that I had in the stash. And now I've started working on the cottons and cotton blends. So I had a big basket of them, which I didn't bring in with me, but that's okay. And I just grabbed it all out of the basket last weekend, and I laid it out in piles on the floor in front of the sofa and decided on making a whole bunch of stuff. It was mostly small stuff and it didn't make much of a dent, but it was good to use up some anyway. So this pattern here, this is not one of my favorite color combinations. It's very springy and almost Easterish looking, but yeah, not my favorite colors in there. But this is called Spike Stitch Makeup Bag, and it's by Goddess Crochet. And the yarns, I think, are Universal Yarn Cotton Supreme. And so you start with an oval base, and then just work up and do these little spike stitches, changing colors every couple of rows or rounds, and then put a drawstring on. I'm sure someone will be able to use it at some point, but I probably won't be keeping that for me. It might end up going to work, see if anyone wants to claim it, maybe. I'll see. Then the second thing I made was this rather cute leaf coaster. I had seen this on Ravelry a while ago, and I don't remember how long it's been in my Ravelry queue, but I finally made one. Now this is a sparkly green yarn. I don't know if you can see the sparkle in there, but it's called Cascade Sunseeker. And the pattern is called Leafling by Mel Harrison, and it's free. And again, that's a really quick finish. It would be nice probably to have a whole ton of those, but I don't have a lot of staying power when it comes to making the same thing over and over again. So I just made the one. The third thing, I was looking at the cacti that I have on my side table next to my couch and thinking, they're in boring plastic pots. I think they need to be blinged up a little bit. So the first one I made a pot for one of the cacti, and just made a flat circle and then went up to the sides. And instead of putting it this way, which is the way I normally would do it, right? I would normally have the right side of the fabric as the outside of the pot. But when you're turning from a circle into a cylinder, it naturally wants to curve with the wrong side showing. And so I went with it that time. And these lovely rusty bits in here, the rusty and yellowy bits, that's the Louisa Harding Giardinera. Giardinera was a pizza we used to eat at Pizza Express way, way back when. Had leeks and peas on it and fresh tomatoes. It was very good, but that's not what this yarn is. It's Giardino. And I bought it at Yarndale, and that was in 2019, and it's finally gone. So that's that one, and that fits the smaller pot. And then I made a larger one for my other pot. This has the very, very last bits of the Giardino in it. This is a floppier pot because I do it in half doubles? I think I did. The other one was single crochets. This is half double. And this is very much a floppier one, but it'll be fine when it's on the flower pot. And then again, that was a circle. And then this time I did a round of working in the third loop of the half double crochet to kind of turn the corner. So this one naturally wants to go the right way. And that also is going to make my larger cactus look more pretty. I also added some spike stitches in there. I've been on a bit of a spike stitch jag this week, haven't I? Just felt like adding a bit more extra texture to that one. And then there were two more things that same day. One was another little pot cover. Now this little mimosa plant that a friend of mine gave me, again, in a very boring plastic pot. And it lives in this lovely bit of pottery, which was made by one of my kids in 2011. He made this when he was quite young. And so it lives in there, and I water from the bottom with this one. So instead of making the crochet cover the bottom of the pot, I just made it a sleeve and then stopped here. And that was probably the last of that Universal Yarns, I think. The Cotton Supreme. So it just dresses it up a little bit. Makes it look prettier, right? And the final one of that day's work was my Cowl also got a little bit of dressing up. And I'm so pleased that my Cowl is flowering again, because I remember having one of these years and years ago. and I got it in flower. Of course, when you buy them, they're always fully in flower and very beautiful, but I never could get it to flower again, and I think I probably killed it. But this one so far, cross fingers, is doing really well. And it's sitting in a bit of pottery that I made. Got some bits in it, but I made that piece of pottery. And so, again, because I watered this one from the bottom, it doesn't have a sleeve that goes all the way to the bottom. And I added a little contrast tie on there. And that yellow yarn was some Jody Long coastline fabric. Jody Lang. Wait a second. Jody Long. Yeah. And so this lovely plant now has a little bit of extra decoration on it. Now that was all well and good. But yeah, very, very small dents in the stash, as you can imagine. So the next crochet project I finished, which only just took a couple of evenings because it was so chunky, is a cowl. Now, a while back, I was watching Claudia Crochet Luna, and she had made quite a few of these granny cowls, and they come around the neck and then they come down to a point at the front. And I put a comment on her blog. I thought, oh, those are great. I'm definitely going to make some of those in the future. She sent me the pattern. It was a paid pattern, but she gifted it to me on Ravelry. So thank you, Claudia, if you're watching. I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm putting it to use now. For this cowl, I used my Barocco modern cotton in the worsted weight. I do have one colorway in the DK. This is the worsted weight. It's heavy because I triple stranded it. The pattern on Ravelry, the Ravelry pattern page says Aran weight. The pattern itself says bulky weight. And when I checked my gauge, I thought I definitely needed to use the 3 strands together, and I ended up using an 8mm hook because a 7mm hook was just a bit too dense. So what I ended up doing is you start at the top. So I used 2 strands of white and a strand of the lightest blue at this beginning round, and did a couple of rounds of that, and then I introduced another strand of blue and took out the strand of white, so it was a little bit darker on those 2 rounds. And then I ended up with 3 strands of the lightest blue. Let me just check I'm saying this right. So yeah, there's a couple of rounds there where it's all blue, and then I started to bring in a darker blue gradually, and then gradually got darker as it goes down, and then when you get down to the bottom, my very darkest blue came in at the bottom. And so the back looks like this. It's quite shallow in that it's just got this many rounds at the top back neck, and then the front is nice and deep and hangs down, so it would be great to wear with a coat because it covers that V-shaped gap which you often have with the coat. It's, yeah, as I said, it's heavy because it's triple-stranded cotton. I think it's great. It's probably not something I'm going to keep. I don't tend to wear blue very much. I mean, it would be fantastic with a jean jacket, jeans, because it's got those lovely blues in it. One change I think I did make. So in the pattern, she has you working these first rounds as regular rounds, regular joined rounds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But what I did instead, I worked it as turned rounds. When you come to the end of a stripe of granny clusters and you slip stitch to join, you're kind of at the left side of the space there. So if you then work 2 more double crochets into the space at the base of that slip stitch, it sort of looks wrong. It looks cramped. So what I ended up doing was I turned at the end of the round, chain 3, 2 double crochets into the space, and then carried on. And the benefit of that is that my fabric looks consistent all the way, because instead of having just the fronts of the stitches for the first 8 rounds and then front, back, front, back, front, back for the flat section, I've just got front, back all the way through. And so it is reversible, because on both sides you've got the front and back of the stitches alternating all the way down. So I think I improved the pattern. No ego there at all, Nicola. Yeah, I will find someone to give that to, because I don't need it. I have a billion cowls to wear already. So I have all my remaining cottons down here on the floor. They're on my lap desk. I'll see if I can pick them up and show you without spilling them all everywhere. So what I did the other day, because my coffee table is a bit thick to attach my yarn winder to it, I got my lap desk out, the one which is just like a bamboo wood with a pad on the bottom, and I attached my Knit Picks. No, hang on, is it a Knit Picks one? It's not a Knit Picks one. It's the one I got from my local yarn store, but it's still one of the cheaper plastic yarn winders. I attached it to the side of this, and it worked really well. And these are the cottons that I have left. I had a lovely session the other evening just winding up what was left of the cottons, making magic balls. It's called making magic balls because what you do is you just put a bunch of different colors into one ball or cake, and you just magic knot them to join on to the next one. I didn't do anything with this one because this one was already a fairly tidy cake. This is the Modern Cotton DK. And that's got a little bit of sentimental value because my friend Jeanette, my old friend Jeanette, who if she was still alive, she would be about the same age as my mum. She bought me that a long time ago. So I need to finish this up. I'll show you them all one by one. I've got, oh, I'm getting caught. My sweater's catching on there. I've got a couple of blues in there. That was just a really small one. I have more of the blue Modern Cotton in there. This, I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be Knit Picks Shine or something like that. Yeah. As I say, these are all cottons or cotton blends. There's some more of the Modern Cotton, Barocco. I've got a combination of yellows in here. There's 3 different yellows. I just need to finish those up. There's the Modern Cotton in the white. I do love that. It's not like a white, it's a creamy white. I love it. Lots of this blue shade of the Modern Cotton left. This is Modern Cotton and Cascade Sunseeker. So I just put my 2 greens in the same cake, ugly as that looks. Because I'm going to multi-strand these and do something chunky with the next crochet project to burn through a bunch more of this. And then I put the pinks and reds together. And this one's the prettiest, I think. I had some paint box cotton that I won in a vlog competition or giveaway. I can't remember. I think it might have been the Cozy Cottage Crochet, Hannah at the Cozy Cottage Crochet. I don't follow hers anymore for whatever reason, but I'm pretty sure she sent me this yarn, and it's, yeah, paint box cotton, and there were 4 shades, and I just caked them all together. They were partial balls. And in the artificial light, I thought I had grey, but that actually looks more like a lavender. So pink, blue, lavender, and a creamy colour. So these will all get used up. In between the sewing and the knitting, this week, the plan will be burn through some more of that stuff. I think I should probably call this yarn stash busting something catchy like Road to Zero or something, because I feel like that's what I'm on. I'm on the road to zero. Except I did buy some yarn. in the last week. But there's a good reason for it. We always tell ourselves that, don't we? So when I was at Michael's last week, I work there, and I'm not going to have any sponsorship or bias towards these yarns as a result. But one of the days I was at work, I noticed there were some yarns there that I had never seen before. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to review them for the vlog? So I bought one ball of each of 4 different yarns, and I'll show them to you now. And the review video has not yet been made, but I'm hoping to make it tomorrow. So hopefully it'll be up soon. So these were the yarns. They're all loops and threads yarn. Oh no, they're not loops and threads yarns. That's a Lion brand. They're Lion brand yarns. Isn't that funny? That's hilarious. I thought they were Michael's own brands. I thought they were loops and threads, but they're Lion brand. That's okay. I want to try them anyway. So we've got one here that feels like cuddles. And I can tell you now, and I haven't even taken the yarn label off yet, but this one is going to need a lot of hand lotion to work with, because as soon as you touch it, it feels like it's catching every little dry spot on your hands. So it actually says limited time only. So I think they all might say that, actually. Oh no, this one doesn't. Okay, so 3 of them say limited time only. So it's a seasonal thing, probably. So they're going to be in at Michael's for a while and then probably go away again. This one is a bulky weight yarn. It's a 150 gram ball with 150 meters. Oh, how neat and tidy that is. I love that. My brain loves that idea. So it's 100% polyester, and it's got a weird texture to it. It's almost like a bubbly texture to it. And I thought I would give that a go. It recommends a 6mm hook or needle. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll do a little swatch of hooking, crocheting, and a little swatch of knitting for each of these yarns on my review video and tell you what I think about them without any bias, of course. Not paid. The second one is Feels Like a Dream. And this is a very, very fluffy yarn. They're calling it a bulky weight, probably because of the fuzz. It's 100 grams and it's 190 meters and it's 100% nylon. So that one's going to be a little more pleasant to work with, I think, because it's not got that catchy quality to it. Interesting. This one says where it's made. Oh, they do say where they're made. They're made in China. This third one is called Feels Like Sherpa. And I was just checking it's still recording because, you know, I wouldn't like to be yakking away and then have to do it all again. This one is 100 grams. It's only 63 meters. Again, it's a bulky weight. This one's made in Turkey. And it's a boucle. Let's not sugarcoat it. That is definitely a boucle. And I haven't used a boucle yarn in a long time. But I'm looking forward to trying it. And the fourth one is called Feels Like Bliss. And this one's made in China too. It's also a bulky weight yarn. It's asking for an 8mm needle or a 9mm hook. And it's also fluffy, but just slightly different feel to the other fluffy one. I didn't say. Oh, that one's acrylic poly. That one was, yeah, I said what that one was, didn't I? That one's polyester and that one was nylon. This one is also nylon. And I'm not sure what I would make with them if I had a lot of it, but I'm just going to swatch it up and see what it wants to be at some point. So that's the Feels Like Bliss. It's very soft, very fluffy. And maybe there's some free patterns on the Lion Brand website for these yarns. They usually do that. This is the one that doesn't say limited time only. But it would be strange for them to have those other 3 for a limited time, but not this one, because they look like they're all the same range. And it's funny how I ended up with 4 that are kind of aqua color, because, you know, aqua is my favorite. So that's what I ended up with. Similar colors, 4 different yarns. And I'm going to have a play with those. Today is all about the vlog. Tomorrow can be all about the review. Oh, and look at that. I can pack them in my basket. This is what these baskets are great for. Knitting and crochet projects. Awesome. My week was very full from Monday through Thursday. I did long shifts this week. And one of them was 9 to 5. And I know that's a standard shift for most people, but I don't really want to be doing 8-hour shifts at my age, thanks. Very tiring. And I think not just physically tiring, but mentally tiring, because you're on all the time and you've got to be outgoing and you've got to talk to lots of people, and it's a lot of peopling. And I am pretty outgoing at work, and I do enjoy a lot of it, a lot of the interaction. But at the end of that, you just want to go home, get in your pajamas and collapse on the couch and pick up a crochet hook or something, or just zone out in front of Netflix or BritBox or something like that. I'm grateful for the job. And the hours are pretty much what I asked for, or they're just a little heavier for a few months while the other cashier is away, but she'll be back at the end of March, and hopefully my hours will change up a little bit, and also my duties will hopefully change up a bit, because I prefer the variety of being on the floor, like setting up displays or helping people find things and that, rather than being at the till the whole time. But yeah, yesterday I had a blissful day off, and a friend of mine and I went on a little mini road trip. And you know what? I completely forgot to film any of it. I was telling her, oh yeah, this is great vlog material. I can film the shops we go into and everything. And you know what? I never did. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. She picked me up at 9. And we drove for an hour, and we went to 2 fabric stores. The first one I didn't buy anything. It was one I hadn't been to before. It's a small independently owned one that is very lovely. There's a lot of quilting cotton there. She had Emmeline, is it Emmeline Hardware, which I believe is a Canadian hardware brand for bag making. So if I ever need specialty hardware, I know where to go for that. I will definitely drive down to her shop if I need a specialty hardware, because I know it's there now. We had a good look round. My friend bought just one little fat quarter because it had rats on, and she loves rats. She has rats. She adopts rats out. She rescues them. So she had to buy it when she saw it. And after a little wander around in the rather funky little mall that was in, because it looked like it was updated from an old industrial building. There was brewery in there, and there were lots of other cool little stores. And so when you came out of the fabric shop, you walk down this corridor, and there's all these interesting little businesses in there as well. And that was really interesting to see. I enjoyed that. And then we went over to Fabricland, We don't have a Fabricland in our town anymore, so we went to Fabricland, and it's not a corporate store. It's a franchise store, so locally owned still, but Fabricland. And we spent so long in there, so long. I decided I was going to have a good look round before I picked up any bolts. I wanted to make some sensible decisions. I went there with full knowledge that I was going to spend money because quilt cottons, and because I don't have a fabric store locally to me anymore. And, you know, I just thought I was ready to spend some money. And I did. So what did I get? Well, as I say, after about 3 tours of the store, I started to pile up fabrics. And I ended up rejecting a couple of them that I had picked up. But what I bought filled one of my little packable shopping bags, which was perfect. Look at that. It all fits in there. It's darned heavy, but it fits in there. So how bad can that be, right? That was my fabric haul yesterday. I'm going to show you what I got. I got a couple of meters of this. This is a medium weight woven fusible interfacing. Oops, I think I just knocked my microphone. Sorry about that. So I bought a couple of meters of this. I do have a little bit in the stash, but it's nice to have when you need it. And as I say, I can't just dash out to get it easily now. So I just got a couple more meters. And then the rest of it is quilt cottons. And the fun thing was, we accidentally hit a really good sale. So of the morning of the road trip, we got emails in our inboxes to say they were having this 1-day sale for everybody, not just for members. And quilt cottons were going to be 60% off, and the interfacing was 55% off, and threads were going to be 50% off. I did not buy any thread. I seriously think I have enough thread in enough colors to keep me going for a long time yet. So I resisted buying more thread. I just got fabric. And yeah, let's see, what shall I show you first? Okay, my friend was a bit of an enabler. She did find at least 3 of these fabrics for me because she knew I would like them. And this one is perfect, right? It's absolutely perfect for me. It's a Christmas fabric in reds and greens, and it looks like lots of mini granny squares. How perfect is that? And it was only $3 a meter. This is the one where I was just coming up to getting all of my fabrics cut. She'd almost done cutting for me, and my friend comes up with this, and she said, "You need this, Nicola, you need this, it's so you." And I said, "Oh, I think I've got enough." And she's like, "But it's only $3 a meter." I said, "Fine, okay then." So I got a meter of that. So fun. All right, I'll show you my individual ones first. There was a couple that were sort of parts of sets. Let me have a quick look here. Still croaking, Nicola. Okay, this one I saw quite early on. How beautiful is that? It's maple leaves and seed pods in a beautiful aqua color. And how could I possibly resist? I'm not sure how much there was of that. That was my biggest piece. Oh, 1.3 meters, that's all. There was 1.3 meters left on the bolt. So that's what I got. Because I know I'm going to use that. Oh, that's interesting. It's called Stonehenge, Autumn Splendor. I've heard of the Stonehenge range of fabrics before. I don't tend to know a lot about fabric company names and fabric types, because when you work at Fabricland, which I used to, it all comes in groupings which Fabricland have created themselves. So it doesn't come in with, say, a Northcott name on it. It comes in with some other wacky name like Jubilee Prints or whatever. And I'm pretty sure sometimes they use names of staff members to come up with names for fabric ranges, because I've seen that happen. Anyway, that's gorgeous. So gorgeous. All right, this is another one that my friend decided I needed because, of course, it's upside down. It has camper vans on it. Definitely something I needed, right? Just love that. Especially with the peace sign on the front of each one. Because, of course, if it's not a Volkswagen trademarked thing, you can't use the trademark. So you have to kind of put something else on the front to look like a logo. This guy, now hang on, let me just see. Yep. This one. Another one. I am a sucker for campers. Actually, I think these might be coordinates, because more campers. And yeah, I just realized these are coordinates, because that camper van with the bunting in the window definitely matches those little ones with the bunting in the windows. So I accidentally, on purpose, got two things that go with each other. And there are bits in there that I could cut out and use on their own, like home is where you park and live your adventure. And what's this? Not all who wander are lost. Yeah, such a fun fabric. So turns out those were coordinates. I had no idea. There were a lot of nature-inspired fabrics. I was actually finding myself drawn a lot to more traditional colors yesterday. Usually I'm going for the bright, wacky stuff, you know. As you'll know, if you've seen what I make usually, some of it's pretty wild. But there was a lot of nature-inspired fabric there. So I wanted to get at least one that had mushrooms on. So I ended up going for this beautiful one with mushrooms and foliage. So fun. So with some of these, I got 1 meter, some I got half, some I got 0.6. It just depended on what I thought of them and how much I thought I'd need. If it was a one I could use for linings and that sort of thing, which wasn't, you know, crazy patterned, I would get 1 meter of it. Okay, now this one and this one, these are lovely too. This one has a very quilt theme, very much a quilt theme. It's got the classic red truck on it, piled with quilts. It's got good old Dutch bonds with quilt written on it. It has sewing machines and scissors and patchwork and all sorts of wonderful stuff. Again, I had to get a piece of that. I think I got 0.6 of this one because I looked at the pattern repeat and it just felt right. So I went with my gut. And then because this one was a coordinate, I also got 0.6 of this one. Look at this fun patchwork fabric. Yeah, just had to get some of that one. What next? Another thing I was kind of looking for was maybe some solids, but I'm not a big fan of solids, if you know what I mean. I prefer things that read as a solid but have some texture. And I found this rather cool linen look fabric. Oh, look, the sun's coming around, nearly on me here. So I got a grey one in that linen look and a taupe and a light green. I thought those would be nice and usable, probably for bag linings or something like that. As much as I love patterns, you really, really do need to have a little bit of quieter areas on patchwork just to make the patterns pop more, I think. I think so. All right, so this last pile are all the same range. I think it was called Penfold or something like that. And I started out with 1/2 meter of this beautiful dragonfly fabric. Very lovely. And I think I got 1/2 meter of this pink floral, which was in the same range, but doesn't initially look like it actually goes with the dragonflies, but I love it anyway. And then I got 1 meter each of these because they, again, almost read as a solid, even though they're polka dots, these two. So a lovely pinky polka dot one. And the same kind, but in the green. And then these two, again, same range, but different, almost like a brush stroke, maybe, in a green and in a blue. So that was that. And, you know, I was mentally calculating roughly how much per meter each of these fabrics were, but I wasn't thinking about what it was going to total up to, and it ended up coming in well under $200. So I was pleased with that. I thought that was pretty reasonable for a good stash of fabric that weighs about 10 pounds. And it's going to give me so much joy in the next year or more. So it was definitely worth it. I was quite surprised at how expensive some of the fabrics have got. Some of the quilt cottons were $38 a meter. Now at Fabricland, if you remember, you can usually get 50% off that every day. And this was a sale where actually everyone could have got 60% off. But I still thought that $38 a meter at 60% off was still a bit more than I wanted to pay. So I didn't go above the $32 a meter ones. I stuck with 32 or lower. And obviously that granny square one was only $3 a meter because it was on clearance, $6 with $3 off. And I think the two camper van fabrics were also on clearance, so they were way less. I could check my receipt. But, the rest of them were regular price, but less than 60%. And I did the calculation and I thought, okay, I'm willing to pay that. That's all right. So super happy with my day yesterday. After we had finished breaking the bank, we went out for lunch. We went to a really nice vegan restaurant down there, which is called Still Food. And I do have a bit of film of the baked goods that you see when you first go in the door. And if I remember, I'll put it in because I tell you, the cinnamon rolls are like this. They are huge. And then you say, oh, I'd like one of those. And they say, would you like icing? And you're like, well, yeah. So they put a big dollop of icing on the top. So I had this really tasty curry for lunch and a pesto roll, which was like a spiral bun with pesto inside. My friend had a falafel wrap with a little bit of salad on the side. And then as we were leaving, we bought a cinnamon bun each, which we shared with our husbands when we got home. We did not eat the whole things to ourselves, but yeah, we shared them with our husbands. And I also told her we had to go around to the chocolate shop because there's a vegan chocolate shop there. And we bought, I got 2 pain au chocolat because chocolate croissants are something that you just never see as a rule. So I got 2 of those, one for me and one for Mr. Stitches. And she bought a brownie for herself. And then we headed back towards home, but we stopped at another little town to just pop into a yarn shop. We didn't buy anything. We just looked around because neither of us is actually, in the market for more yarn, particularly. Good joke, Nicola. Oh, that's a good joke. Anyway, we resisted, and I picked up a London Fog at the local coffee shop so that I could drink it on the way home. And she was driving, which was awesome. So nice to be a passenger with somebody else's driving, and you have a lovely day out buying fabric and looking at yarn and eating good food. I mean, it was just the ideal day. So that was a lot of chatting, wasn't it? And as I say, I'm sorry I forgot to film in the fabric shops and the yarn shop. I really wish I had remembered. But then this video would have been even longer, wouldn't it? It's probably long enough already by now. Yeah. That's it for now. And it's only Saturday morning, so let's see. Yeah, today we do need to get out for a walk. Obviously, I sat in a car for too long yesterday and I did not get enough exercise. So there will be some boring stuff like grocery shopping today, but there'll also be walking, and I will get some more crocheting done and burn some more of that stash. And tomorrow I'll get that review video done, and that will go up tomorrow, hopefully. Tomorrow night, maybe. Tomorrow night, my time. Maybe Monday, your time, depending on where you are. Well, I managed to get through this without too many edits. That's amazing. Some days I feel like I'm cutting out a lot of fluffing, but I managed not to fluff too much this time. So I'm really happy that you made it all the way to the end. I'm happy that you're here. I'm glad you watched today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please do leave comments. Let me know what you like to do, what your favorite colors are, if you like to buy yarn and fabric, what you can't resist when you go to the shops. Whether you're de-stashing right now or enjoying some stash expeditions. What's the thing for that? Sex. Stash expeditions. No, I think it's not quite that. But anyway. So I'll say goodbye for now. Have a great weekend wherever you are. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.